You know, right as I was thinking, Stream Elements usually, like, announces that I'm streaming now, right? It popped up. Either I'm psychic or the world loves to play this prank on me. There's no in-between. One of the two. That was also weird. But hello. I forgot to Oh, it's still on one. Weird. Forgot to undo the thing. The thing being the kill count being invisible. Not that it really matters, because when do I ever make mistakes? Please ignore the giant 1 right there. It's never happened. Hello, Reslane. Hello, Random. Thank you for the Ace of Spades. Hope you're both having a good day. I'm on the fence. Because apparently the rain put out the fireplaces and the hot water again because someone didn't set up the pump correctly. Not literally on a fence, just emotionally on the fence. So I, again, have no hot water. It's Random's fault. They fixed the leak that was down there, but they didn't set up the pumps right, is the only thing I can imagine. Because it was working fine before then. How could you make it rain here, Random? And now I'm getting word that it might snow, which means all of that water down there might turn to ice. Which can't be pumped out, as far as I'm aware. Well, keep the snow for yourself. Make a good snowman. But for the good news, I covered it in the Discord on the Casual Gamer Talk that no one cares about at all, but I thought it was cool. I managed to beat Inscription's Too Fast mode. No, we have not had any snow at all. We've had a lot of rain, but no snow. I think we had a very small layer of snow, like, a month or two ago. But it was so small, it was gone by the time the sun came up, really. By the time it hit noon, it was all gone. But yeah, I managed to beat stupid Inscription's Too Fast mode with a lot of trial and error. Mostly error, but it was fun to do. Sadly, you cannot actually beat the game on the first day, as far as I know. Maybe if I had done the things I could have, but at the very least, you cannot get most of the extra cards on the first day. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that game. We're here to talk about this game. So last time... Oh, there's a delay. Hang on. I figured it did because I heard static for a minute. There we go. So last time we had a big experiment on top of the exhibition or whatever of science. Can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. By the way, it's been 6 months since we were allowed to work in court. I'm gonna go over the people real fast, but we're defending this guy, Albert Harebrain, who is a man who demonstrated super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. So what happened 6 months ago is the case with Gina here, who is now a self-appointed detective inspector. But because of Sasato messing with evidence or whatever, it was found that, you know, we allowed it to happen. We had to take responsibility for it or whatever. And we knew that she had lied in court. Her being Gina. So in order to accommodate, this guy was like, look, you're still cool, but you need to spend time to just rest and study on how law works, even though no one in this country seems to know how law works. But we went back to him and we're like, look, it's been 6 months since you looked at me. I went back to my court case and said, I'm sorry. Can I get my job back? And he said, sure. But you have to defend this guy, who demonstrated the ability to create instant teleportation using this man, Odai Asman, who is also a criminal organization leader. But, you know, the public doesn't know that. 1 second. I'm back. But as it turns out, something went... It is exactly how you say that. He died as a man. How else would you say it? But the experiment was a success, except something went wrong and this guy is now dead. So now we're trying to defend whether or not it was an accident, or if this guy deliberately set it up to blow up. Also, he used to be a friend of Van Zeek's back when they were in school. This guy, that is. And this guy was actually prosecuted by Van Zeek's, but bribed his way to safety. There's also this guy, a masked man. Don't know who he is, but he's Van Zeek's apprentice, apparently. He does not talk. And if he ends up being Kazuma, I'm going to stab him with his own sword. Just throwing that out there. On an unrelated case, seemingly unrelated, we have this lady, Esmeralda Tuspils, who is a wax figure creator. She has her own wax museum, and one of her wax models were kidnapped, and they're demanding $200, or pounds, which I don't know how that translates to dollars. But they're demanding 200 pounds for her to get her wax model back. And you know Tobias Gregson. Oh, they're both 33. Doesn't really look 33. I figured pounds was more than dollars, considering how much they were throwing. You know, how 10 pounds isn't that much, but, you know, 200 pounds or 50 pounds, that's a lot of money. I don't know what that means. Reslay, but sure. She also has a witch's hat. As for things, we have the diagram. They were trying to beam that guy up to the Crystal Tower. It worked, but he died. And I'm beginning to wonder if this is going to be another case where they don't know how to look at real bodies. That's too much math already, random. I can't add cents. I mean, 10 pounds is like, what, $15? Boop. Also, the Reaper was attacked. There's new dialogue. Kingpin's the criminal underworld generally managing to escape convict of the Reaper's trial. This isn't the first time their henchmen have tried to attack Lord Van Zeek's result, by the sound of it. Really makes you think. That's how the justice system works in London, then there must be a dark forces at work. Ah. Now, I was wondering last time if she was based off a real wax figure creator. It's probably another case of them changing the name very slightly. Just to get rid of any copyright issues, even though, you know, Sherlock Holmes is an open figure. But now he can be Herlock Sholmes, and could be completely different, unrelated. Can't believe it's been 6 months since I was allowed to work in court. Now here I am, back at the Old Bailey, day 1.
Mr. Naruto.
Good morning, Professor Harebrain.
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me.
I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. Not gravity!
Well, this is Britain's highest court. Are you telling me it's filled with some kind of a device that can automatically control air pressure?
I think it's probably all in the mind.
Yes, well. You won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruto? I'm counting on you in today's trial.
Gravity doesn't really let people down.
To save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being gone beyond my poke.
Yeah, I understand. Could you maybe talk a little slower? I know what I have to do. I have to establish the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail.
My commendations, Mr. Naruto, but have been lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Yep, I figured it was you. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here.
That was very mean, Bruno, leaving me home with Hurley. Took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes?
Indeed, sir. I am he. Herlock Sholmes.
I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany.
Yeah, ran some magazines and stayed on Germany, too.
This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction of the invention of the Silver Blaze was wonderful.
Yes, a memorable case indeed. Concerned a snake, I seem to recall. They're really pointing towards something here.
No, that was the speckled band.
Thank you for coming and bringing up the case where my friend died. Really appreciate that. Do appreciate your support and your lack of, consideration. Sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business in Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. The madam has engaged my services. So you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it all my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. You'll return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description, proverbial or otherwise.
Oh, you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Especially in the laundromat, where there are irons. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for pie. One of the user's intractable mysteries, you might say.
Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. What is he talking about?
Someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrain.
Oh, why, thank you.
Before I depart, Mr. Naruto, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you're remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation such as was attempted by the professor of the Great Exposition is quite impossible.
But the professor said the demonstration was a success.
Yes, it would appear that the fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Bruno, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
Oh, he's completely barking up the wrong tree?
How can an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory.
Who's to say it did? That's contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I have no doubt.
What's that supposed to mean?
Now I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Hurley. I guess I'm here now.
He's leaving a small child in our... I don't know, on our bench, I guess? She's gonna be our helper, I'm sure. Looks like you're on your own today, Bruno. Oh, never mind. I guess she's ditching us too. Chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. Hello, Griffey. I hope you and Random managed to become real friends. And of course, now that would mean that you're out-leveling me as a blue mage, but that's fine. I was never actually a good blue mage to begin with. Your year 1 sub ran out. Oh no, whatever will we do? Already at level 50. Don't rub it in. Gonna be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous.
Counsel for defense and the defendant. Court about to be in session. Make your way to the courtroom at once, Spirit.
We're on our way.
Also, if you recognize any of the jurors in there, I'm sorry.
Experimental that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. It's a scientist who's convinced that he did it. That's the riddle you have to unlock here. For you. That's the key to this case. The Keyblade. Where if they bring in Keyblade courtrooms, we'll never hear the end of it. No one can solve that. I don't think I actually recognize any of the jurors.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. Sitting today for the public trial, Professor Albert Harebrain. Now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is ready. Yeah, the defense is ready, my lord. 6 months out of practice. And what's more... Oh, okay, it's her ghost. I'm with Sasato today. I'm without Sasato today. Ugh. Just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual?
So, must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well. Mr. Odai Asman.
Mr. Asman was well known as a financer, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities.
It was only a month ago the man appeared in court prosecuted by Lord Van Zeeks. Jury unanimously found him not guilty.
As every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. Powerful London criminals prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. Who defended him, though?
About 2 days ago, on 21st of October, Mr. Asman met his end. As men tend to do. The work of the Reaper, was it?
I have no comment. If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain.
Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people, even though no one will believe that. 6, are you ready to fulfill your social duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord.
He looks like he was modeled after one of those head statues. I forget what they're called. Just the way his chin is just completely flat. He's just a thwomp. Gotta name him Sir Thwomp. Sir Thwompington the First. Sorry, had a cough. Or sneeze. Whichever you want to call it. Have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly! Sends shivers down my spine. Great, now we have a magician.
Science, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defies reputation of science deserves to hang.
Oh. You're not even... They didn't even bother to really put it on model for eating corn. Gonna keep doing this?
At least you watch both sides of the fence and then settle on that one. That's it, isn't it?
Court would like to remind you that eating in the court is not allowed. One like this, my day. One like this at all.
That's the police killer Otter Mole to look like. Again. As exhausted as ever, it seems. Why do we always have an old person that can't listen?
I'm sure as you all aware, the incident we're here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Expedition, shortly after its opening.
Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of science being exhibited rapidly turned to a nightmare for the spectators.
Tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, the whole world will be on this trial. It's our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zeeks.
Ahem. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world.
One of science's latest developments, I take it. Government is keen to capitalize on the Great Expedition to improve Britain's technological advantage.
The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis.
Good lord. Those are words.
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled.
Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity, my goodness, how shocking.
Hold with ideas absurd. Hypothesis never stand up to cruelty. I believe you're a fellow Royal Society, are you not? Are you expert in your field? I am, my lord. My word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
As expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. Impossible.
What's the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
What? What rot? Order!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it's deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant will be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asmund's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But... This disastrous demonstration was no accident, though it was dastardly. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
He's been really harsh on his friend. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. Prosecution stance clear. You will now bring forth the witnesses substantiating your claims.
Gladly, my lord. I don't even know why I wear this to court, honestly. I always take it off. Bailiff, show the first witness to stand. Witnesses state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Grayson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. On duty at the demonstration day in question in charge of the following investigation, even though I had nothing to do for it.
Hang on, I feel like I need something for every time he moves. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. Every time he moves, I hear that. It's kind of like Francisca's back in court.
Albert Harebrain, scientist.
You were born in England, but have been carrying on research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis to create exposition.
You demonstrated was incredible, alright. An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Must have done? Yes, it was a terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
That much is undeniable. As shown in this photograph, every time it makes me laugh. Taken by the forensic investigation team. No, he was very clearly shot in the chest.
These were taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. Centerpiece of the expedition, no less.
That's right, my lord. Seeing the victim was rammed straight into it. What are you booing about?
I see. Very well, submit the photographic evidence.
It shows a very apparent stab wound to the chest. Yes, something that you would not get. I swear, no one in this game knows how killing people works. Hello, Doof. Hope you're having a good day. And I make that reference every single time they show a photograph. And every single time, it makes me laugh.
As the court heard, the victim of the incident was Odi Asman. There are a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being. He was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see, so summarize the situation. The defendant is accused of taking life of the man who funded his work, would that be correct?
Exactly. Couldn't it be the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration?
That's right. That must be it. My splendid machine. My poor splendid machine.
You saw it yesterday, didn't you? Can't even examine the records thanks to the special the special science law.
What? The wreckage? The wreckage?
That being the case, how can the facts be established? How could it be possibly determined whether this is an accident or a deliberate malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord.
I beg your pardon.
Isn't that right, witness?
What? Sorry? Me?
No, your neighbor.
Yes, sir. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. You can't, but you could.
What? How could he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we'd better proceed to formal testimony. Explain the court what ground you claim the experiment could have been in front for murder.
It's like, I hate everyone here. Like, I know science is new in this era and everything, but there's clearly a stab wound. Like, he's right there. He was clearly stabbed. And like, if he was slammed into it, he would be paced. He would not be stabbed.
The corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That's all was my mistake. The post-mortem exam revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lease in his chest where he clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. Victim was killed before he went anywhere. This fellow's the only one who could have done it. On what grounds do you say that? I was on the other side of the room. Extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart?
Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge.
Kinda says that death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. It wouldn't, but you could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No, that couldn't be further from the truth. I have your experimental plan documentation submitted to security team. Victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. Boom. Boom. To the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam to transfer to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair. But that's not where he ended up. From where he subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window. Even though we clearly just showed him falling on the ground. My word, one assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. Now, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? If you don't have the murder weapon, you can't prove he did it. This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution like hindered in the court record. I refuse. I mean, your request is granted. I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. The only other person on stage with Mr. Asmund was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Unless, I don't know, he was shot.
I think otherwise, really.
Hey, well, counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yeah, my lord. You focus here. Been a while. Been a while since I forgot the words to this song. Is that also Nickelback? I don't remember. You think that because he fell from a considerable height?
Exactly. To highlight something else about this whole rum business.
What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, the explosion shoved him up there. After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair. Although the experiment ended as a disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster? Oh, I'm sorry, random. 47. Nationality, British. Hemorrhage of the wound has been selected by a sharp implement. Unlike a relative impact of sudden fall from a considerable height. Okay. But they don't have a murder weapon. I have it.
And the angle of the projection is critical, is that it? And you calculated it yourself? Personally?
Absolutely. Calculations far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out. Only you got it wrong, didn't you? Well, yes, that's right. That's the point. Calculations are so complicated, even I can make a mistake.
People fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it.
I took into account the subject's height and weight, wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand. How could this have happened?
Obviously, then you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asmund was wearing at the time, I suppose.
Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3!
How much for safety first? 3 must be for safety in third. Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense.
Didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
Too right. That's not what I was saying either, though.
Obviously, at first we thought the bloke would die due to his spine snapping in half as well.
Saying that's not the case?
Okay, your answer once I finish my fish and chips. You're gonna keep butting in every few seconds.
And we all know that's a bottomless bag.
Is that canon? Is it actually bottomless?
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that was the cause of death. Right, that's what we all thought. It was a red herring, wasn't it?
Mintz knew nothing of this crucial information.
The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. What was the nature of the sharp object?
Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This. Ah, yes, appeared to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it, Counsel? There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew!
Andrew, of course.
Ah, do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends. Like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. Andrew's my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Well, it appears your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
Ah! That isn't...
He's blood. Beyond all reasonable doubt. That's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? What?
But you legitimately cannot just stab someone in the heart with the screwdriver. Not by hand, at least. That's not really possible. Unless you're really strong, and this guy's kind of a wimp. Because the ribs would get in the way. That's kind of the point of the ribs. Unless you have enough force to pierce the rib, you're not going to get the heart with a screwdriver. Which is where this crossbow is going to come into play. He was also in a bird cage.
What do we enter this friend of the defendant into evidence?
Whether Professor Harebrain's tool is a murder weapon? Great. This is blood, Mr. Aspen, no doubt. Problem with looking at murder weapons. Seen this unusually shaped handle before. Same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it.
It's the one we pointed out to him. Yeah, you're right, but I'm not a doctor. Look at that. Super fancy.
What grounds do you have for saying that?
Ah, you really need to ask. There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Odia's man, and the accused, Professor Harebrain. We know for certainty before the experiment the victim was alive.
That's right, saw it with my 2 eyes.
Furthermore, following the explosions in Kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. Only words, only someone on stage with the victim could have possibly done it.
Great Scott!
Would I play one on TV? No.
Master Harebrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor!
Sorry. I was calculating the optimum coefficient electricity to separate molecules from the human body.
And the witness stand is the best place for that. Seems as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark.
Ah ha ha ha! Yes, that's right. Of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh?
I don't know, but no way that I could have possibly stabbed the victim, Mr. Asman, as you say.
Eh?
Explain, please, Professor.
Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals, with blood running continuously through their veins.
I had heard. You know, at some point.
Then surely you see, if I plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
That's probably the smartest thing that's said on the witness stand in the past, 20 trials. Well, no, I suppose not.
You see, no one, not one.
True, I didn't see anything like that.
Yeah, done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. If only I could have thought of that.
Order!
Pray forgive me for once again savoring a drop from my hollow chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing something. Here's to you, Albert.
Oh, you're too kind, Burke. I'm really not a patch on you. Why did you throw that?
No, you're not.
No?
You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Ah, of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with this?
Very well, you amend your final formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson. Weapon the victim was stabbed must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air.
Oh, dang, I didn't mean to do that.
Why did you think that, Inspector? You're the one that found it.
Then he won't. It's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. While still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, if you want a better word.
I see.
You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigation.
There's Sasada when you need her.
Ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing from the view of the body before stabbing Asma in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off stage with his fancy device, and the screwdriver still where he planted it. I would never do such a thing, not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You only use tools for their intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist.
The fact remains the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained.
It really can't, though. No idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zeeks keep that to himself until now on purpose, to gain the advantage? No, that'd be stupid.
And what I meant to do was present the thing, but I pressed the wrong button. Like, it couldn't have been because it was at the scene of the crime. Objection. Say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. That unequivocal? Look, there's no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. Only explanation for that is the screwdriver still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. Wouldn't you have found it in his body, then, Gregson? It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yeah, but about this screwdriver... Thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? He was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Now you come to mention it, yeah. Inspector, are we to understand you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contrived the Special Science Act? No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. It was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing. Yep, that's true. Screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? What are you getting at? If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right, it should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
How do you explain this, Inspector?
Well, I don't.
And then I won't.
Looks as though everything the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. Screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred. Obviously, it should have been beamed to the destination as well, even though the calculations would have been totally off. Yo, it's a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous teleportation is a scientific impossibility, still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. With Andrew, I guess. My lord, prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument. They only conclude the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped.
Hold it! You have something to say, witness? Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruto, don't worry.
About what?
Without delving into the details, in no inconsistency.
What?
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on stage is consistent with my calculations.
What?
My leg!
It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly we should hear the accused's explanation, even though he clearly does not realize he is, you know, being accused of murder here. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation? Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Can't trust them.
Bender will testify again, provide us with a scientific explanation of why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold. In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
Why Apollo? Is Apollo the god of science or something?
I guess I'll just stand over here then, so I'm not here. To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. I never tested it. My hypothesis states the kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the weapon would have been stayed put.
But the birdcage didn't.
In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruto isn't inconsistency at all. Mr. Adam was a patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. I have a duty to protect this incredible machine that we built together.
He's the god of knowledge.
Thrust of your testimony... The thrust of your testimony, Professor, is that based on his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of kinesis. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage despite the victim being found elsewhere is not an inconsistency. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrain could still have been the killer.
God of archery. I knew he was archery. Music, dance, truth, prophecy, healing, diseases, sun and light, poetry, and more. That's too many things. Like, give the guy a vacation already. But also, him being the god of archery. I wonder if that's on purpose with the whole crossbow situation. My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason. I'm not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrain.
Yes?
Whose side are you on here?
I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies upon upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all.
You working for us or against us? Very hard to tell.
Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo.
I feel like I'm being attacked by both of them. Same time.
But the cage was made of wood, huh?
Your hypothesis states it, so it isn't proven then.
No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis. But a good one, based upon thousands of calculations.
But you never tested it.
Well, no. But it is widely known that metals can't be decomposed by electronics. Yes, of course, so I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct.
What is it about incriminating himself that makes his man so happy?
Whole reason that birdcage is made of wood, you see.
Sorry, the birdcage?
Yes, that's what I call the C. obtusa cage which Mr. Asman was placed in for the kinesis.
Ah, the jail cell in which... Oh.
The jail cell in which the victim was detained.
Does seem to be made of some sort of timber of some sort.
I think you would not refer to as instrument of incarnation, your lordship.
In short, any weapon lodged in the victim when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left behind on stage if it was made of metal, correct? What about his outfit? Or, like, does he not have a zipper? Or his monocle? Does his monocle have... Like, is that not metal hanging off his monocle? Or glasses, I guess? I thought it was a monocle. Like, that clearly moved. Unless it's also made of glass, I guess. Also, is the handle of the screwdriver made of metal? Yes, that's it. It all fits perfectly with the mathematical model.
Not the ultimate conclusion, then. That the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict fatal injury on the victim, is that not? Indeed, sir.
Someone beam me out of this nightmare. Sasada, where are you? You seem to be pleased by that.
Yes, another example of my hypothesis holding true. I sense some sarcasm, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you not pleased?
No.
I knew it. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Asman losing his life. The advancement of science is no excuse, I know that.
No, you're quite right.
Tell that to the court. Do you have a close relationship with Mr. Asman?
Oh, well, no, not really. I mean, I'd only met him 2 or 3 times. We only have discussed my hypothesis in the project, and the research grant, of course.
How'd you come to know Mr. Asman in the first place?
A year ago now, a small provincial science journal published by a little paper about my work.
That's a scientific journal. Good gracious. I should need new spectacles.
I might have had extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time, I had no money. I had to eat teeny little medals at the little cafe and drink watered-down water out of a teeny glass. And also read out of tiny books. When Mr. Asman read the paper and came to visit me in my teeny little laboratory.
And offered you money to help fund your work?
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asman provided me with an engineer for the practical. And the three of us produced that fantastic machine together.
Machine you brought with the great expedition to demonstrate.
Where's the engineer? You haven't met him.
We had to apply the government for some inspection to be allowed to exhibit it, I think. I understand all that side of things. Mr. Asman took care of all of it. He was a wonderful man. Really. I owe him everything.
What do? I'm not really seeing any, like, major contradictions.
Say you built the machine together, does that mean you were involved in its construction?
Maybe we'll get to see the engineer.
Yes. Well, not exactly. I'm not good with practical side of machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer.
Little remains of your creation now, though, following the explosion. Repair would no doubt be impossible.
Yes, I realize that, but if someone were to gather all the broken parts, they could discover the secret of my hypothesis. Mr. Asman said, and I toiled over that machine for so long, we put our hearts and souls into it. I had to protect my work. What's left of the machine must be kept safe. It's only fair. Because what happened was an accident.
That's the extent of the testimony, then. Thank goodness for that. I don't want him doing any more damage. It's already basically proven he could have been the culprit. Even though all he really cares about is defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is just fundamentally flawed?
I didn't press this one.
Yet your retort to my argument wasn't lacking confidence in any way.
No scientist can find the truth without first finding the self-belief. Those are the words of a certain scientist. I hold in the very highest esteem.
But you realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you?
No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More words of the same great scientist, you know.
Words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is the scientist?
If it's Sholmes, I'm stabbing him.
I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Mr. Naruto. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know.
It might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind.
You're wasting your breath, my learned friend. This scatterbrain even forgets my names at times.
Oh, Lord Van Zeeks really did have a friend once. I didn't notice hell freezing over.
Anything I have that... Someone lost a cat. As a side. It's green. Part of this? No, it doesn't look like it. That looks more like dark blue. Am I a reliable reindeer? No. I'm not a reindeer at all. And you can rely on that. I don't have antlers. And I don't have an antler. Or ants. So the only thing I can think of is like his machine is metal, right? So why did it move? I can't present people either. Can I do anything with this? No, it's just a stupid scroll thing. Magnifying glass. So there's clearly a contradiction here, because the game's not letting me go forward after pressing them all. It's the only thing that includes his thing, so...
Objection.
Nope, that wasn't it.
Can I more precisely what you found out about it on your return to Japan? Ow. Rest sure to be happy to carry scene forward in your absence, Council.
Sounds serious. I had to prove my worth before he really does send me back home. Okay, what's an inconsistency then? Well, go to sleep, Reeslane. I've checked all of them, I think. I guess it could be the crossbow at this point, because he says, like, the defendant alone, but... I don't know, that's not really in the thing, you know? It's not in what he says. I guess I'll just press other ones. I'm not reading them again. No, I'm not pleased. Not at all. Oh, well. You know, that's rude. Hmm. I think this was leather. Rubber-like material, blah, 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 scorch marks at the edges. This made of metal? Can I check that? Screwdriver that was poking through the floor of the Kinesis machine. No, it doesn't look like I can unscrew it. Kinda looks more like a key than a screwdriver, but... maybe it is this, cause... I don't know, is there anything distinctly metal? Other than his glasses. His glasses seem like they have metal on them, right? And gold conducts electricity, and that's definitely gold that makes his... like, ignoring the chain, the gold thing on his nose is definitely... definitely gold and not just painted wood, right? Oh, what now? Wow. I can't believe Griffey would do this. Sending us things. Too late. You know I can't ignore pings. I would say the button is probably wood. But I don't know. I don't know what else to try at this point. Well, the music stopped, so... Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Spot on, exactly correct.
In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. That was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman's wearing a pair of spectacles. How they didn't fall off in the impact is beyond me. Clearly see that Mr. Asman's wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim.
What? Metal? No, metal can't. That's not... metal? No!
I already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should have also predicted that the metal rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place.
My hypothesis!
As a harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say. But your hypothesis is clearly flawed, much like the audio is clearly flawed. You know, 1 second. Why isn't it coming back? And now it's silent. Why? Oh, now it's back. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. Sorry about that.
Order! Council, what is the implication of this?
If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, it's entirely possible the victim was killed somewhere other than on stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. Also, hang on, because now Penny wants out. I'm back.
But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work. I could say something here in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, sure, number 4, what is it? As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. That's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science. What? Wait, great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect? It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, blunder, and a fraud. I say the records of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined. No, never. The machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis. It's protected by the Science Act. What was that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I don't like this way this seems to be going. That's the best way for me to help the professor. Raise an objection. Never sit and do nothing. Professor Harebrain's yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine display in public, he would absolutely have no reason to do such a thing. Objection. He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
Government was foolish enough to have deemed this man's ridiculous notion plausible. He and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed. Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? £10? You're in the order of magnitude out, madam. £500 a year.
Oh, y'all live handsomely for that much for years.
Indeed, you corny child. Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstration in the field of science recently.
Wish he would not, just do science experiments, like, right there. How do they keep changing color? Can he explain that one? How does it keep changing color? It's the same liquid. He's not mixing liquids together. He's just pouring them in and out of the same things. This guy's a fraud.
Many scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People greed and plenty motive for murder, I assure you.
No. I haven't deceived anyone. Least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. The science is sound. Please, you must believe me. Objection. No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success. Barak. And therefore, the only person who could have possibly committed this murder is the accused. Barak. Yep, I knew he was gonna say exactly that. Where's this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may,
Yes, Lord Van Zeeks.
Prosecution would like to summon a new witness to the stand.
New witness. What would be the nature of their involvement?
They were spectators of the demonstration at the expedition who were occupying special seats.
Eyewitnesses. Very well, the court grants prosecution's request. I'd very much like to hear from the eyewitnesses of the incident.
What liquid is that, Griffey? Are you a scientist? Or is this magic? Prosecution's stance is clear. The experiment was no whatever that word means. The accused killed the finance victim there on public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend.
Oh, me? Okay, yes.
It's time for you to do the duel. I mean, to make your stand clear.
It's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me? I don't know. Punching people? Take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witness to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good, in that case, court's adjourned for the 20 minutes. Take a bathroom break. Court will be adjourned.
So sadly I did guess wrong, or rather I was right to think that there was something weird about his glasses, but we still don't have an answer on how the thing moved. They also completely ignored the chain hanging off, but whatever. Feels like people just don't understand that explosions do move people.
Mr. Naruto, what on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis, my amazing hypothesis. You've been picking holes in it from the start.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But you promised me. You said you'd prove that dreaded explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is trying to undermine me.
Yeah, I did make you a promise, you're right. Said that I'd believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. Fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there?
But if I just run through some equations. Yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete.
Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he?
Oh. Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster, not just as a scientist, but as a human being.
Yeah, that might be a little over the top.
And while we're on the subject, I'm also a bean. What about Barak? He's being awful.
Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean?
He's a disaster, not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but wait, no, he's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as a Homo sapiens anymore.
That's cleared up. I don't know, the Reaper was probably human once. To add a solution, then shake, the air from the bubbles oxidize and turn it blue. Once cells turns back to normal. But it turned to 3 different colors. It was green and pink and blue. And hello, Sano. Hope you're having a good day. Did I double check something with you?
Yes? What?
Entertain me.
What did I miss?
You missed everything. We're currently during a courtroom break after we proved that something's wrong with the hypothesis this man has for his stupid teleportation machine. Also, weird knowledge that is useless in general is something I'm a master at.
The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved?
I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is only the future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruto, you must believe in me. And believe in it.
Alright, Professor. I understand.
Counsel, defendant. Prosecution, witness are ready to take the stand. Court about to be in session again.
Yeah, I got a thing wrong. I tried to present the, picture of the machine, thinking like, well, clearly metal moved, this thing pointed up, but it was the guy's glasses. Which, you know, I pointed out to myself, but I didn't think about it again.
Make your way in the courtroom, please.
How hinged on that demonstration? Professor and hypothesis as sound as he claims. Use him as the only person who could have possibly killed the victim. Why aren't we talking to the engineer? But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant.
I'm here too, hello. Practical implementation, such as was attempted by the Professor of the Great Expedition, is quite impossible.
I was also there. Why don't you remember me? Really, what should I be trying to prove here?
The truth. And the truth is, this guy is a sham. Why didn't he ever test his hypothesis before being like, you know what, let's use a real human. Let's use the person who's funding me.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene for the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for new witnesses to testify?
The prosecution is ready, my lord.
As is the defense, my lord.
So, Lord Van Zeeks, believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration in the day in question with their own eyes. Will it be Gina?
Indeed they did. As luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. Yes. So the testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable, despite who it is.
Perfect. A detective of all people. Wait, a detective of all people?
The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration of the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present at the stage at the time, the accused.
Thank you, counsel. Prosecution position is clear. So bring forth your witnesses now.
Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally. Who are these people? Who is this small lost child and this man with a balloon who may be a clown? How do you know this, Griffey, and also why? Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear.
My name's Balzar Loon. I'm the impresso of all the hot air balloons vicinity of the experimental stage.
My name is Wilhelm Goddess Sigmund Osterman. You can just call me Will. Or Gods, I guess. I have come to see the great expedition away from my home in Bohemia. I'm very rich. Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective. Even Erlock Sholmes agrees. I was on security duty of the expedition, got up to go one in the balloons. It was amazing.
Nina, again. She did mention she'd seen the disaster from up in the balloon, actually, didn't she? Clearly loved every minute of it.
There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one such balloon at the time and saw the events unfold from the skies above.
Make it sound like they were in clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet. Very low, very low. Hey, you can't see nothing if you fly too high, can you?
60 feet, about 18 meters then. How do you know that? You're not supposed to be smart.
Thank you for your introductions. Now you give your formal testimony to the court.
Also, sorry my voices are bad.
Describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you with vantage point from up above the stage.
Okay. Are we starting with the child? Usually starts from the left. Oh, well, there it goes. Never mind.
It was instantly terrible. I'm only grateful my balloons were not damaged. Here's this huge bang from the stage, and the next second the other bang in the sky beside us.
And amidst the smoke, a cage appeared from nowhere.
Cage fell from the sky like stone, crashed to the crystal tower.
I didn't get a good look inside the stage, but no one went near that crash to the tower.
So they didn't actually see it appear, it just came out of the smoke.
Extraordinary collective account, I must say.
Can I just clarify something? Detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically that there were 2 explosions?
More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. You can see them in the background. Then, as power was supplied to the machine demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called bird cage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witness. The bird cage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower.
I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with the person inside. The blast so hot, I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide. I lost my balloon. Give me another.
Those balloons better, like, get cleaned up. And they let off fireworks later.
I still have lots of money.
Precisely who is this curious infant? Who is this lost, sassy child?
I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into great expedition.
Ja, I'm here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school.
We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony.
Do we really need that? When I review my mask, this is what I look like.
Ah, yes, I see. Delightful face, I'm sure.
You sure?
Ja, everyone says so.
Great disguise, then. The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates, whatever, icon words, the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated, and furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asmund on stage, could have possibly committed murder.
Yes, thank you, counsel. Prosecution's views of the matter are quite clear. Oh, defense cross-examination now, please.
Yeah, my lord. Okay, whatever. I've already forgotten their testimony with how many nonsense things were in between. Alright, you're worthless. Huge bang from the stage, the next second another bang with the stage sky behind us. Okay.
You actually saw the accident happen from up in the air?
Yep!
Isn't it amazing what detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Odo, being a lawyer is a mug's game. You should join the force and we can go flying together.
You know me so well.
Yeah, well, anyway. You tell us exactly what you saw, do you think? Everything. We saw everything, because we are above it and all. That dodgy cove came climbing in the cage, that dodgy professor pulled on them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was a massive bang and the cage disappeared. Just like that.
Describing a molten subject body was decomposed by electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it. Then there was another bang right in my ear. Looked around, there was a huge fireball right next to us in the sky. There was nothing there before.
Excuse me.
Master Gotts, your memory of the day differ? My teacher at elementary school said that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name. What was it again? Wilhelm Gottesriss Sigmund Ornstein. Yeah, I can't pronounce that. Just the 4 names then. The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, perhaps? Oh, get it right, Odo. It's Inspector Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? By the way, it is Lord Van Zeeks. That is not what I saw. Oh? Yeah, there was second explosion and it was right beside a balloon. That is true. But I'm sure... Which is what I said, isn't it? 1 minute there was nothing there, next to the massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school said that since someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy?
Are you only here to give him balloons? Why didn't he just have a balloon and then, like, jump up to grab it? Why is this man here? Also, his hat is on fire. Just notice, like, in the top left where his hat is, there's, like, a weird light glare where it looks like it's on fire. Why? What does that have to do with balloons? I guess because it's like a hot air balloon? I guess that's what his hat is. Sorry. Man is there to make money from this small, rich child. Just before the second explosion happened to our next balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? Was there 99 of them? Hey, you what? I never saw nothing like that. Well, I did, I saw it. You can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I am Bohemian Prince. You cannot say the lies. That is not allowed. Tch, playing the bleeding royalty card, are you? Typical. As the orphan who likes to remind people that she works for Her Majesty's police.
In that case, young man, I ask you to amend your title testimony. Interest of the cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia.
Well, I have that, right?
Objection.
Nope. Well, I guess I was too early. I have to press it first? I don't know.
Green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course I am sure. I'm proud Bohemian Prince. All these questions are making me boring. Making you what? I think you mean bored. Ech. English is very annoying. The language of my country is far superior. No, all languages suck.
Gazzo, it's very wrong to lie.
Lie? Flying balloons never explode?
For some reason, the plans never explode. It's illogical.
Please tell me that doesn't mean logical. If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia. I'm okay with that.
But die.
I will not have the army come and shoot you all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them.
Now give me another.
Here you are, your highness.
Only all international incidents were so easily resolved. Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment the cage materialized, Mr. Loon?
Well...
Hold it!
maybe he's not useless? He's the only one with balloons.
3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand.
See, all of them, my Belsimi whatever. Very popular, signor. Some would pay £10 to ride one.
£10? That's more than my annual whatever.
£20 a month, that is my pocket money.
Royals have all the luck.
I got up there for free, I did. Play the old I work for Her Majesty's police card, you know.
Detectives have all the luck. They're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though?
Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other. The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area.
You know, by balloons, I thought he meant the ones he was holding, not the air balloons. And yes, that's definitely supposed to be fire on his head.
Other impersonators, they hate me. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for the balloon ride to the exposition. As we clear more about you actually witnessing from the incident. Alright, I can fill you in there, my lord.
Yes. I got 4 shots, it's fine.
Objection!
Okay, weird. Why did I have to...
Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that 3 of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged.
See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosions, it would have been terrible.
I wonder if I know what this is?
I think it may be... see, part of a balloon. A burnt piece of the fabric at the envelope.
Sorry?
The envelope. There's a large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. Made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want to rip it when you are in the sky.
Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gotts testified, a green balloon did indeed explode that day.
Eh?
All the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon. Your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence.
I didn't realize it was striped, too.
Oh, so my day. Why didn't the man say so?
Maybe everyone on board was killed.
Oh, no, having spent £10 for the experience? How awful.
Either those things crash 50% of the time anyway.
Objection!
The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion in the stage, the point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon.
Causing the balloon to explode. Yes, I mean, eminently possible.
An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were. Is that what teleporting is now? Traffic? But it changes nothing about the pertinent facts.
This I cannot accept.
Why not, Mr. Loon?
You're suggesting that I am a liar. Persons died in balloon incident.
There is no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. Ha, joke. The victim was the sole fatality that day.
That's right, now prove it. As our loon non-eyes, no such balloon in the sky. It's not possible.
You're saying it's impossible. Why?
This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
Objection!
Objection? But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon.
Okay.
I concur, there's clearly more of the truth here than meets the eye. Much like those Autobots. Imperative that we clean up this issue of the phantom balloon, I feel. The phantom of the operations is clear. Witness, you'll give your supplementary testimony about the balloon you were operating the expedition.
Ah, yes, my lord.
Why are they still here?
As I said, the Mazar loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. They fell to the ground in Esplanade. What a catastrophe. Well, you can't get away from the fact that a burned-out bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? Coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown by the explosion off the stage.
That stupid Aragazo is mistaken. My balloons have red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. Your assertion is that the balloon is his child saw was not one belonging to you. Si, exactamente. He saw one balloon in the first place. I don't like the sound of it. Very bad for business. I have good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. If you attack us, we will fight back. It will be a war, all out war. Gimme thing.
What happened to all out war?
Miss Loon doesn't appear to be lying. That doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here. If the defense is unable to find fault with the witnesses' statements, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend.
The situation clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here. Even though balloons fly, no matter what it takes.
Yeah, no one died.
Considerable damage to the stage and the surrounding area, wasn't there?
Yeah, some of the coves were watching the experiment were caught up in the blast and injured. Good job the old contraction didn't kill over, eh?
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that.
It seems there was a great panic after the incident occurred. Nevertheless, the police shouldn't have missed a torn piece of envelope from a balloon. Inspector Gibson can expect the repercussions. Like me swiping all his fish and chips, eh?
Man's sole pleasure.
None of this matters. That scrap of balloon envelope means nothing. Nothing. Is it not? I can't actually look up at his balloons.
You mean the color is wrong?
Si, senor. I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse.
And yet a piece of green cloth was found at the scene, and it's unmistakably from a balloon.
Well, I do not know how that can be. For the sake of argument, let's say that a green balloon did explode. Above the stage. I have to go tell someone to check something. So for the sake of argument, I shall be right back.
I'm back. A pointless break.
But here we are. You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question.
Why not?
There have been recreational balloon flights over Hyde Park operating from before the Great Expedition. One could have exploded on some earlier date. Unfortunate, as I'm sure you'd agree.
Unfortunate and also stupid. It would have been cleared up by then. Shut up.
You believe it may have been from some other balloon accident that predates the expedition? See, exactamente, the signor said it's not from one of my balloons. Clearly, the Ragazo from Bohemia is mistaken about what he saw.
Excuse me.
He wasn't there, so... Nothing wrong, Master Gotts?
It's Master Wilhelm Gratz, whatever.
He was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, something's very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear all over Bohemia. Speak as much bad language you like, but change nothing. Shut up and give me balloon. Okay. If you do not have evidence, Ragazo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh?
Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to the punishments.
Evidence? What is this evidence?
Give a simple example, young man. A photograph, for instance. Something that makes you laugh. Tangible proof of what you claim.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here.
Good gracious!
What? Why?
I had not been up in a balloon for a while, so I was very excited. Ta-da! I took lots and lots of photographs. Of the Crystal Tower, of Bohemia exhibit, of the streets of London, of the hot heel sailor.
Hot eel sailor? Is that a England thing?
The balloon.
And the instantaneous kinesis experiment? Did you take a picture of that?
Yeah, one picture.
Really? You did take one.
But all I wanted was to ride a balloon. I was not interested in boarding experiments.
Never mind that. Could you show us that photograph? Make us laugh?
Of course, and then you will see that I am not lying. I really did see a green balloon. Well, I see you are all too shocked to speak.
Yes, I think I'm shocked is indeed the word, young man.
Yeah, perhaps you cannot see that is what a green balloon from this photograph, but it is not my fault. It's the fault of the stupid person who made the camera. Ah!
Yeah, it's one very bohemian sounding cry.
Very well, the court accepts this photograph as evidence.
It is not my fault. It is the fault of the person who made the camera.
Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, what exactly did you take that photograph?
Well, it was on the day of the big explosion.
You don't say.
When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang, and hot wind rushed over my face.
That means the photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. How convenient.
If you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing.
Could not give a flying something.
Lovely language you picked up. As I thought, Mrs. Lu's testimony just doesn't quite add up. Young Bohemian boy claims to have seen another, fourth balloon. Mrs. Lu's vehemently denies the possibility. It's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken about the number that were in the air. Thing is, he must tell us something, I'm sure.
It tells us that he's wrong. Who cares? Alright, let's look at this photograph. Well, the man's clearly right there, although I don't think they drew him very well. Doesn't really look like him at all. Things pointed up. There's something flying upwards towards the balloon, which is empty. Kind of expected to see Sholmes just like posing in the background somewhere. Where's Sholmes? Can you find him?
Okay, so this one would be this picture that we just got. Because this clearly has no people.
Objection.
Unfortunately, the photograph, which makes us laugh, Master Goss can't be whatever. I didn't read the rest. Can't tell us something else. Something crucially important. What? It shows that the pictured balloon wasn't carrying any passengers.
Ah, my goodness, you're right. Surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers. There'd be no sense into it otherwise.
See, they are for pleasure, for seeing view. My balloons are only fly with passengers. It tells us the pictured balloon isn't one of them. So when the incident occurred that day, there was a fourth balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon. I know nothing. I can only tell you one thing. If this balloon was not carrying passengers, then it was not one of mine. I don't know, I don't like the way his head is pulsing.
Objection.
There are illegal tradesmen everywhere you care to look. Clearly one such interpreter decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the Great Expedition. Managed to operate the balloon flights on Mr. Loon's patch without him realizing. See. The Carpenter's Own trying to steal my profits. Did not notice because of the experiment that went on wrong on the stage. This fourth balloon exploded the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below. Right, so them scraps that fell to the ground after and left as scorch marks didn't come from the stage at all. It was bits of the balloon raining down. Because no one was in it, it didn't get no attention. Darius' fourth balloon carrying no passengers, silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection.
This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one and operated by some rogue trader. And even an argument about stupid balloons or a screwdriver named Andrew. Or the stupid Loch Ness monster in a lake being on court record for like 3 days. Clearly it has nothing to do with the case.
Relevant does elude me, I must say.
The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. Prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded. Really? We really got to the truth yet? No, I can't let this opportunity slip away. Jurors' minds are made up and not in our favor. What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it? What about the giant bolt flying through the sky? There's more! But wait, there's more! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. Photograph of Mr. Gotts, Master Gotts, may well be hiding one more vital clue.
What's that?
A vital clue? Hello, I'm a magician, by the way. I'm more a vampire than that Lord Van Ziek's guy.
Objection.
We're well past the point of mere possibilities, even though literally everything I've said is a possibility. It's time for definites now, so tell the court. What exactly does this alleged clue in the photograph prove? Well, definitely not the caller, definitely not the owner. So... Easily assume that the pictured balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion. Yeah, that's right, yeah. It's not my fault. Evidently. Because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky where it had been flying. And the balloon, being filled with flammable hydrogen, instantly and explosively ignited. Does he not realize that, like, if that happened, then there would be burn marks on Mr. Asman?
Objection.
Objection, that's not how balloons work. No, that's not what happened. What?
Here, this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the localization of this alleged clue in the photograph for the court. Where can we laugh?
Of course, my lord. If you look closely, plain enough to see. And what's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have, even though no one knows about it except me. So the heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded is...
Mr. Sholmes, right here, in a dress.
I mean, it's kind of hard to point exactly at them.
Take that!
Timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. Very convenient. If you look, you notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon.
Most likely a ray of light caused incidentally on the film.
I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort.
Look with the magnifying glass, my lord. It becomes clear what the nature of this bright light really is.
I didn't even look at it with a magnifying glass. Zoom in. Enhance.
Goodness, what is that? Unlikely, some flash of light, yes.
Oh, golly. Do you think it might be lightning?
That'd be very, very frightening. Couldn't have been a finer day.
I believe we may be looking at fire.
A bolt of fire heading straight for the balloon. Arrow, like an arrow. Indeed, even to my aging eyes, it appeared to be a flame of some sort. My word, are you suggesting this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon?
Objection!
That's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height.
Objection. Actually, it's my opinion. A particular piece of evidence found at the scene that reveals exactly how this happened.
What evidence? I received no word of this.
Such evidence exists, Counsel. But a goodness sake, presented, man. Should have really done that from the get-go.
It'd be the crossbow, right?
Take that!
This is found hidden at the foot of a small ornamental tree near the scene. Not very well, mind you, and they really should have found it themselves and not made me do it.
Good lord, is that a crossbow?
Arrow dipped in oil and set alight could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow straight into the hydrogen-filled balloon.
Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately...
Blimey, you're right. That streak of light in the photo looks just like an arrow, doesn't it? Then, the explosion of the balloon, it was...
Very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow igniting the hydrogen gas inside it.
No! How did we get to this point? I figured it was like he shot the screwdriver into the guy's heart, not that he shot a balloon. What's the point?
Order! Counsel's extraordinary supposition.
The aim was to cause the balloon to explode, and the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question.
The noise of the discharge, of course.
That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently.
Oh yeah, if someone had shot a gun on the expedition grounds, it would have caused a real panic.
But with the big explosion, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I don't like this. Should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this, but something feels wrong.
Objection!
Objection. Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend?
If a flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, then obviously it would have exploded. And if the birdcage appeared from the cloud of smoke that ensued...
What? Wait a minute. What are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage beamed up into the sky after all? Or what?
My goodness me.
Now I understand. That's what sinking feeling is about.
Did the magician do it?
I think there's a good chance the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along.
Oh, what? Did I hear that correctly, Counsel?
No going back now. The horse is bolted. By a bolt. Let's assume, as I said, the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start.
Huh, yeah, like it wasn't in the picture. So they got it in the balloon?
On stage, when the experiment started, the birdcage in the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared to fall down and crash into the crystal tower. I think you all agree it's entirely plausible The what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day.
This is... Good grief!
Objection!
Objection! What? This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play. A fundamental display of stage magic.
As Mr. Sholmes and I have said, the experiment was a scientific impossibility. In which case, is the only way to explain what happened that day.
And in any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the Crystal Tower. If the kinesis machine didn't take place, how do you explain that? I may put in a word as a man of magic myself. Such apparent discrepancies can be easily explained by some simple deception.
Juror number 3!
All that would need is a doppelganger. Someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asben. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is like, if his body really did appear there, we never actually received any proof that the one on stage was him. Additionally, I'm pretty sure he had a cane, and they've never mentioned the cane inside the scenario. The weird part is that he's not covered in burn marks. And having this other man appear on stage in front of the show as a body double.
Yeah, of course. So in fact, Mr. Asben must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed inside the balloon right from the start.
That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen. Anything hidden inside it would have been scattered to four winds when it exploded. No one would ever have embarked on such a risky venture.
Not necessarily. Explosive force of balloon gas would very much depend on the mixture ratio.
Juror number 4! Why are the... These are the most reliable jurors we've had. Only the stereoscope guy was this interesting before. But he could talk too much.
Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mixture ratio, the explosive force can be altered.
The mixture ratio?
Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would have been unavoidable. But not to such an extent to render this whole obscene charade impossible.
Everything that happened can be explained, logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of the experiment was no accident. It's all part of an elaborate deception, to make it appear that the instantaneous kinesis worked.
Well, goodness me.
I mean, except this is what happened. It means the victim, Mr. Asben, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with.
Ugh.
In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant, who was on stage in full view the entire time.
One could also argue that we have photographic proof that he didn't stab him. Because he's clearly, you know, like, right there, messing with the levers. But whatever, we'll just ignore that for now.
It'd be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Even I couldn't counter something this absurd. Lord Van Zinks can't credibly maintain that Professor Harebrain's a suspect now, right? But Harebrain can.
Mr. Naruto, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Professor Harebrain?
But you can stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please.
Sorry?
What's all this about, Mr. Harebrain?
I, Albert Harebrain, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Oldie Asben. Yes, it was me, with my faithful friend and partner, Andrews the screwdriver.
What are you doing?
Order! Defendant, explain the son confession.
Objection. Professor Harebrain, what are you talking about?
It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis, my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, an elaborate prank, but where is your proof? No, you would have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would be all over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it.
Clearly you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. If I could see what you were duped, Professor, you just let me, I could prove...
Barak,
What? Yes?
I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please. Ensure the special scientific act is adhered to and protect my creation.
No. Please say no. Oh, well, here comes the wine. One may ask where I got these things. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my Lord Nipponese friend.
What?
And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the special scientific act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge the machine as genuine and instrumental to the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved.
Well, counsel, what is the defense official position on this matter?
What Professor Harebrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on the stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. No way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence, or do I uphold my client's request by see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust.
You've been silent long enough. Stop monologuing. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind?
No need to bring that into it.
Mr. Naruhodo.
No escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give up on something, but what? Defense asserts that the defendant's innocence machine was in fact...
It was just a trick. You were tricked.
Ah! No, I can't say it. My client places faith in me. Can't just let him down.
What must I give up on? Not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect? Oh. I thought I was Sholmes. How did you get here?
Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. Been far too long. Did you hear from Ryutaro? Susato? But what are you... Ow! Why? My first Susato takedown in 6 months. Maybe longer, I don't remember.
Be time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand.
Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect, and also how to relocate my spine. Ow. I'm over here now. Professor Harebrain?
Ah, yes?
Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of the truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too.
Yes, of course.
And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asmund. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? Your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. Truth behind that is what we must both pursue now.
My leg!
So, you finally opened your eyes.
What?
And as for you, Albert, you can't ignore this any longer. Your hypothesis is bogus, man. Like, come on.
Ah,
Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say?
Barak.
Lord Van Zeeks.
Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before. Also, hello, I'm here now. I don't know anything about, what's happening, but I'm here now. In truth, there is one thing. Something I remember that's of relevance.
What?
On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow.
I beg your pardon?
Professor, the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like?
Well, he was wearing a mask, and he had a giant cloak on, and, well, he looked like a bat. It was probably Bruce Wayne, if I had to guess. It was probably Batman.
Oh wait, I guess I can't use Batman. We already have 2 bats in this courtroom right now. What's another person that's distinguishable?
Well, it was an old wolf wearing a grandma's dress. Yes, I believe it was the big bad wolf. Taller than me, and thin, thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and wider than mine.
Wider?
Let me see, one less limbs than me too, a monocle, rather stylish, black monocle. But one thing in particular will help positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention. Yeah, of course.
What? Of course, I figured the engineer would have to come up. Why wasn't he in court right away?
He built the machine. That's right. Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Dreber.
What is the pun here? What's the pun? Also, hang on. Penny's clawing at my door. I'm back. What's the pun? What's a Drebber?
Enoch? Drebber? This name means something. Members of the jury seem flustered. Not a name any scientist wishes to hear. That man's an abomination.
Not the name any conjurer wishes to hear either.
Who on earth is he?
I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of his nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. Talk of another flamboyant experiments that turned out to be nothing more than stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal's after the government's research grant money.
When magicians are in need of money, I've heard of them resorting to this underhanded tactics. How convenient that I am part of the jury. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Dreber's name before.
Man's both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Dreber for you.
So it's true then, my invention, my great machine.
Huh. First book with Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. Interesting. Have all of our villains been named after Sherlock Holmes villains?
It was just a grand illusion.
Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Dreber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely.
Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen. But at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified of the prospect. And I don't even know a prospector.
You really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built. And the true nature of Mr. Dreber. Or, you know, the guy that died.
I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it. Apparently a victim? Oh no.
Highly possible Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means to fraudulently acquiring the research grant money.
When I announced my adventure to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Mr. Drebber described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore. Well, that was fun. Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Science Act? Which I refuse to actually say, because man, that name is too long. Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry.
Here we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zeeks?
My lord?
Court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical.
Yes, Mr. Drebber.
Gather information about the man, if possible. I should like him served with Saponia.
Very well. With pleasure, my lord.
Now, counsel for the defense.
Yeah? What's up?
When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime of which he presently stands accused.
I understand.
Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
You know, if there's one big thing that they give me a lot of leeway with, it's just presenting random evidence I found on the street. You know? Like, I literally could have got this crossbow from nowhere and, you know, been like, yeah, this was a thing. Like, no one has any evidence of that. Mr. Naruto!
Yeah.
Your dog's barking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. 1 second. Let me just do this real quick. I'm so sorry.
You really have no idea, Professor? That what Sir Jabber is really up to, I mean? Oh, he's really constructing?
Naturally. That machine is the embodiment of my hypothesis. All my hopes and dreams. I have complete faith in it.
Alright, in that case, I won't say anything anymore. Sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands. Must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow.
Well, thank you for doing so much for me.
I'm sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, arriving late?
Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I had arrived.
Postcard? What postcard?
Hi, I'm here too. I hid it from you, Runo, so it'd be a surprise. Well, did it work?
I was surprised, alright, especially when she threw me to the ground. Dislocated my spine.
I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out.
Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in the future.
Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see. It made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while. But in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Oh,
I mean, I wish you didn't flip me, but having you stay on my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm delighted to see you back in London.
Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. Delighted to be here. Hope I continue to be of service to you.
Of course. So, what's brought you back?
Professor Mikotoba not protest?
Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I made one of my most special blends ever for the special occasion. Oh, Ibis, how wonderful. I can't wait. Sasato was back in London. Hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time. But despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. To be continued.
Which will also have to be continued later as far as the stream is concerned. While I could go on a bit longer, I don't know how long this thing is. But also, I need to go help mess with the water that is still flooding our basement and keeping us from having hot water. So, this will be where I have to call it for now. But tomorrow, and also food, yes. But tomorrow will be the start of a new game. And Sanosuke, if you're there, you might want to be present for it. But I'm going to probably play one of the Castlevania games that I now have the collection for. Probably my favorite one, but I don't know. I'll see what order they're supposed to be played in. But I am probably dropping Mario and Luigi for now. Might get back into it at some point, but, like, I don't know. I'll talk about that later. But either way, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my bad voice acting. And I can't wait to see the rest of this nonsense, because, again, if Kazuma's there, I'm stabbing him. Anyways, bye for now, and have a good night. Might be back later with a casual thing, but who knows.